I think it might be time to start getting a little bit worried about what's going on in the DC universe with James Gunn at the helm. There's a conversation online going on as far as like what is actually going on. Are things on track? Is everything okay over there? And it's now being kind of exacerbated because of the success of Spider-Man. Spider-Man made like $1 billion in the box office in one weekend. And now people are starting to look at James Gunn like, hey, you're supposed to be competing with Marvel. And I'm not a super huge box office guy. Like, the box office numbers don't really matter as much to me as long as the content is top tier and elite. The movie making business is still a business at the end of the day. And critical acclaim can only get you so far without the box office success behind it. Now, I think one of the issues that James Gunn is kind of having from the outside looking in is that he hasn't had a huge blow up in box office success compared to his work at the MCU. Like, Superman made $620 million dollars at the box office, which is great. That's an impressive number. But when you consider the IP of Superman, you should be able to make a little bit more money with that IP. And now you compare that to Guardians of the Galaxy 1. That made $775 million dollars in the box office. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 made $870 million dollars at the box office. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, $845 million. So his Guardians of the Galaxy movies made between 700 and almost 900 million in the box office compared to Superman, which made 620. Suicide Squad is a little bit different because of COVID and the pandemic and lockdown. People couldn't really go to theaters, so I'm not going to hold the $169 million dollars that it made against him. Like, that's going to happen. That's, throw that out the window. But Supergirl, 126 million. Like, it looks like things are steadily declining. People are a little bit less interested in the stuff that DC is putting out. And to be fair, like, James Gunn hasn't put out anything bad. He just hasn't put out a banger yet. Superman. I enjoyed Superman. I like Superman. I've watched Superman multiple times. It's fine. Supergirl. I think Supergirl got a lot of unnecessary negativity and hate online, but I thought Supergirl was fine. Suicide Squad. I enjoyed Suicide Squad. Really fun movie. Watched it multiple times. It's fine. And 2 seasons of Peacemaker. A season of Creature Commandos. All fine. Nothing that really stands out to nothing that like breaks the barrier of just comic book movies. Like, it had nothing's really busted out to the point where other people outside of the genre are talking about it, where other people are interested in going to see it. And even if you look at some of these movies that he's made compared to the stuff he did with Marvel, is Superman better than any of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies? Supergirl, is it better than any of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies? Suicide Squad, same thing. You could maybe make an argument that Superman is better than Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but if you go back and watch Guardians of the Galaxy 2, that movie is a lot better than you remember. I guarantee if you watch it again, the storyline, the character development, is Ego a little bit corny? Yes. But the storyline between Peter Quill and Yondu and Ego, the father-son dynamic, that works really well. And that dynamic is better than the father-son dynamic in Superman. Supergirl is not better than any of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Suicide Squad, no, it's not. So that kind of is a little bit of an issue. And another thing that is going on is a lot of stuff is getting canceled or delayed, like at a rapid pace. Like the Amanda Waller show, canceled. Paradise Lost, a show about where Wonder Woman came from, her birthplace. It was supposed to be a Game of Thrones type of show. That show has been canceled. Season 2 of The Penguin, on hold. That one, that's going to hurt me. Like, The Penguin, love that show. Love that show. That's elite television. And that show is now being put on hold. So we don't know if we're going to get a season 2 of The Penguin. There was also a Catwoman and Poison Ivy show pitched to the studios, rejected. Catwoman and Poison Ivy. No, you can't have that. We're not greenlighting that. And then there's a Booster Gold character. That show's kind of still in limbo. And Batman 2 has been delayed multiple times. Now, there also is a thing with Warner Brothers getting merged with another company. So that could be an issue as far as, hey, we don't want to put too much money into certain projects without knowing what's going on with this company going further. I get that. But for James Gunn, it's time to start bringing out the big guns, bro. Time to start bringing out the big IP. Like, Jimmy Olsen is filming. Do you know who Jimmy Olsen is without Googling him? Because I don't. I know he was in the Superman movie, but he was a minor character in that movie. Now, we also have Lanterns coming out, which looks fantastic. Can't wait to see that. But it almost seems like James Gunn is doing a thing on purpose where he's purposely focusing on minor characters. Like Crypto has a TV show. Jimmy Olsen has a TV show. The Creature Commandos have a TV show. Peacemaker has 2 seasons of a TV show. And now we get Clayface. And I'm not saying that stuff looks bad, but we're not talking about the major characters that DC has to offer. And now Wonder Woman is now being fast-tracked. Now it's like, okay, now we got to start getting this stuff rolling. He still doesn't have a Batman. I'm not saying that he needs to have a Batman right now. And I would prefer him wait until the perfect opportunity comes for him to introduce his Batman into his universe. But if things continue to trend downward financially, Warner Brothers as a studio is going to get rid of him, unfortunately, because at the end of the day, they care about the dollars, they care about the money, they care about the box office. We can go around and say these movies suck or they're good. They don't care as long as it makes money. And James Gunn right now, his movies are not making money. They're not making enough money to justify Warner Brothers wanting to keep him on. I want them to keep him on. I like the stuff that he's doing. But I can be honest and say that James Gunn hasn't made a banger movie in the DC universe yet. He hasn't made a Captain America Civil War. He hasn't made a Guardians of the Galaxy 1 or 3. He hasn't made an Avengers Endgame or Infinity War or Spider-Man. And he has Superman as his front-facing character, and he isn't able to make enough money to really push it over the edge. Maybe that's on us as fans. Maybe that's on the movie industry. It's hard to say. And it's hard to blame it on the movie industry because Spider-Man just did $1 billion. The Odyssey, something that's not a comic book movie, did a lot of money in the box office. So if I'm Warner Brothers and I'm looking at James Gunn like, hey, what's going on here? Why are we just barely cracking $700 with Superman or $700 million with Superman? That's going to be a problem. And as excited as I am for Superman Man of Tomorrow, James Gunn and fans of the DC Universe and fans of James Gunn, we cannot afford for Man of Tomorrow to just be fine. It just can't be fine. It's a lot of pressure to put on one person, and it's unfair creatively to keep comparing him to Marvel and what they're doing. But that's the business of it. We need Man of Tomorrow to be next level. I'm not saying it has to do Spider-Man numbers, but it has to be on par with Captain America Winter Soldier, right? Black Panther, Shang-Chi even. Let's go, James Gunn. I believe in you. I believe in Gunn. I don't want to go back to the Zack Snyder stuff. So as fans, let's continue to support the stuff that we like. Supergirl, Lanterns, Clayface, Superman, all this stuff. Support the stuff that James Gunn is doing so we can get more stuff and not have this universe erased due to capitalism.